United States, from China, from Russia, if I'm right. I see President Putin there, and of course other regional leaders all attending this very important meeting. I think it's, as President Xi mentioned, we are seeing a profound change, right? Especially when the economic development has yet to pick up real speed. So what needs to be done? He proposed, for instance, finding self-generating drivers for the economy or innovation-led economy. What about these factors? Maybe President Trump can think about those instead of finding, manufacturing jobs back to the United States or, revitalizing the coal-fire sector.
I think he should be working on things that we can do together that are synergistic. For example, President Xi proposed the Belt and Road Initiative in 2013. It's a very wonderful initiative that's borne fruit already. I don't know how we could have foreseen the changes in the world, but President Xi and his advisors saw those changes, and so the Belt and Road is building connectivity, building cooperation, building win-win. And I think Americans would like to get involved in the Belt and Road Initiative, but the American companies don't know how. By the same token, there's a lot of opportunity if President Trump carries through on his promise, his campaign promise, to have $1 trillion infrastructure project to fix the broken infrastructure in America. There's a lot of room for Chinese companies there, for instance, the high-speed trains and so on.
Indeed, and President Xi again touched about this subject about connectivity and connected development and building an open Asia-Pacific economy that benefits all. And what's interesting is this paragraph really drew a lot of some of the warmest applauses. And let's take a listen to what President Xi said there.
We should put in place a regional cooperation framework that ensures consultation from equals, wide participation and shared benefits. We should build an open Asia-Pacific economy and promote trade investment to liberalization and facilitation.
Let me go to Dr. Nguyen joining us from Washington, D.C. What do you think of this message that President Xi is highlighting about interconnectivity?
Well, I've always been a big proponent of the Silk Road Initiative. I do think it's a very strong, positive form of diplomacy coming out of China, and I do think that that would be a win-win situation for both China and the United States in terms of promoting economic prosperity and job creation. As far as infrastructure development, that has been Trump's one of his major priorities. A lot is going to determine what can get passed through the U.S. Congress. So I think understanding what is needed in the global community will be very, very important, certainly moving forward. At the same time, Trump is going to have to deliver to what I call the forgotten man and woman in America in order to ensure that he is reelected, in 2020. So when he comes out with his rhetoric of America first, he wants to send a message that the United States is not going to get taken advantage of in the near future, so that everybody is on the same page. Now we've got to see moving forward, what can he actually accomplish in terms of trade deals? Yeah,
well, I don't think the two are contradicting each other. Dr. Gao, your take?
Yeah, I think, allow me to make one brief point. President Donald Trump seemed to call countries which run a trade surplus with the United States as if those countries are raping the United States, and he called China raping the United States on many, many occasions. This is really very disappointing. For example, in China, we do have big trade surplus with the United States, but China also has big trade deficit with countries like Australia. Should China call Australia raping China? No, I think that will be the worst thing that China can ever do. I think in any bilateral trade, you may have some surplus, you may have some deficit. This is normal. And for those countries to have trade deficit, philosophically speaking, it's wrong to call the other country raping this country. Of course, we need to do everything we can to make the trade more balanced, but it takes two to tango. The United States should be encouraged to come up with more goods to sell to China, and I'm sure the Chinese leaders, including President Xi Jinping, want to make sure that the Chinese purchasing power stays, and we will be able to buy more goods from the United States.
I think we have to take President Xi's words with a grain of salt, or not really take it literally, because he has used so many vivid languages that it's really difficult not to be swayed by it. You have to look at the essence. I think what he really meant is that these trade deficits are very, very bad. I'm not trying to defend him. I do not agree with that, but I think he has been trying to send that very strong message. However, another thing I noticed is that he also talked about helping to provide high-quality infrastructure for the Asia-Pacific region during the speech today. Is he seeing the need of doing that in this part of the world after seeing what China is proposing, Harvey?
Well, I think it's a great example. If you compare American train system to the train systems that China is building both domestically and around the world, it's night and day. And so I think that something right is being done here. So the Belt and Road Initiative is spreading connectivity. Connectivity is needed to do trade. The shortcoming of Belt and Road, at least in the short run, is that the trade may be more one way from China out. But I think that in time that will be rectified, and it will be a full two-way trade. And so I think that APEC and also ASEAN are working very hard to try to build a system where the countries that are members can cooperate. And so that's why the regional comprehensive economic partnership will be concluded in a year or two, and that includes all the ASEAN countries. And then after that, the plan is to have another more comprehensive plan that includes all the members of APEC as well.
Dr. Winnie, what is your take on this? Some people are saying there are already too many regional trade arrangements in this part of the world. We have the TPP, we have the RCEP, we have the APEC, we have also the Belt and Road Initiative, which is regarded by some people as some kind of a trade arrangement. People are talking about the risk of a spaghetti effect. What is your take?
Well, that is correct. There could be a spaghetti effect. What it comes down to is, are the countries benefiting or not benefiting from being part of these multinational trade arrangements? If you can show concrete results where people's economic livelihood is improved, then there's going to be support for being involved in all of these different multinational organizations. So Trump has taken the position that only bilateral trade is going to be beneficial, not multinational.
Yeah, thank you very much.
She believes the opposite, and I think part of Xi's strategy with the Silk Road is to create China's new economic stimulus program, and at the same time create a lot of goodwill among different countries that may have been lost because of the criticism China has received about their involvement in the South China Sea. So
Dr.
I think
Winnie,
that's certainly a really good strategy for China.
Dr. Winnie, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much. We're running out of time. Many thanks to all our guests. Harvey Zoding, Research Fellow at the Center for China and Globalization, Victor Gao, Global Counselor at the Asia Society, and Dr. Ralph Winnie, Director of the China Program at the Eurasian Business Coalition. My last point, the different styles and visions of the two leaders have never been more prominent. As President Trump talked about a far-away Indo-Pacific dream, China offered concrete solutions and opportunities on how to arrive at common prosperity. President Trump pointed fingers at so-called unfair trade practices. President Xi offered approaches on how to benefit more people with trade and investment. President Trump wants bilateralism, while President Xi upholds multilateralism and open regionalism. The list goes on. It's foreseeable that the two visions will likely